Okay, I'm going to show you how to do the cross section, which is the stretch and challenge task in the textbook that you've been set on Firefly. What you will need for this, you will need some copy of map C. So that could be, you can do this on the computer screen, or if you have a printer and paper and you want to print it out, you can print it out on the computer, on your printer. But you will need a copy of this map, printed or on the computer, it doesn't matter. You will need some kind of paper. So that could be some scrap paper, it could be a page from your exercise book, it could be some print paper. Graph paper is probably the best if you have some laying around, but if not, any paper will do. You can also do this on the computer using Paint, but that's a bit more fiddly. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So the first thing you need to do is take your bit of paper and just fold it just in half. And then you need to line up your piece of paper along the line that says A and B on your in your textbook. Don't start right at the edge. You want to leave a bit of a gap. What you're going to do, you're going to mark on where A is, and then you're going to mark on every time one of these blue contour lines crosses over where your piece of paper is. So just go along like I'm doing here, and just put a little line each time your contour line crosses the piece of paper. And just be careful, some of the contour lines are thicker, some of them are thinner. They're both contour lines. And we're just going to mark on B with they're the longer one. Okay, once you've got that, just move that out of the way for a minute. You're going to open up your piece of paper. I don't know if you can see this here. Oh, there we go. That is the start of your cross-section graph. So what we then need to do is we need to draw the axes. And what we want on the cross-section is we want height. So if we go back to our map, we need to find what our highest height is going to be. So if we have a look, it's clearly going up because you've got like 1,400 here, 500 down here. So our first line is going to be about 400, and we've got to go up to 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we need to go up to 800 meters. So on our piece of paper, and this is where it's helpful having graph paper, but it doesn't matter. We need to go from 0 to 800 meters. Now, like any graph, the better you can do the axes in terms of the scale, the easier it will be. If you're doing it with a plain piece of paper, I would make every 100 meters 1 centimeter. So the line's 8 centimeters long. And just mark off what every 50 is going to be. Obviously you can take a bit more time over this, make it really neat. I'm just doing it quickly to show you. Okay, and then we can go along and label that axes. So 0, 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, if you want, you can add in the little bits in between. Some of you may want to just do every 100. As long as you know where the bits in between will be, that's fine. We label that because it is an axis like on a normal graph. So it's glacier altitude and it's in meters. Okay, and now we can draw in what the rest of our axes would look like. So where you've got the line on the bottom of the page, just draw a line across, and then you can draw in the axes going up. Okay, that axis doesn't need any labels because this would just showing altitude. So you can see it starts to look like a normal graph. Then what we've got to do is remember each of these little lines is where a contour was. We've got to have a look at our map and plot on what height each of those little lines were. So if we look back on the map, the first contour we went through is this one here. Now all the bold contours, see if I can zoom in a bit so you can see a bit better. So all these bold contours show every 100 meters, and all the lighter contours, the thinner contours, are 20 meters. It tells you that in the question. So our first contour is going to be 400 meters. So I go up, okay, so I find my first little line that I plotted, and I follow that up to where 400 is, and I put a little cross. This is where it kind of helps to, if you're using graph paper. If you're using plain paper, obviously you'll have more time to do this. Use your ruler to make sure that you are getting it in the right place. Our next little line, we then know, because the contour lines are going up 20 meters each time, we don't really need to look at the map anymore, apart from to just check that they are all going up. And if we look, 500's there, goes up to 800 there, so they are all going up. Some of you may have done this earlier in the year with rivers, and rivers start high and go down and then go back up. Some of you may have done it last year, but this one, they're all going up. So we don't even have to look at the map anymore. We can just follow along for each of these little marks that we made there. It's going to go up in 20s. This is where it helps if you've done like lots of the little numbers up the side of the axes. But it doesn't matter. Okay, and you're just going to keep going, yeah, 460. You're just going to keep going like that. You need to take a bit of time over it so that you can just make sure you don't miss any of these out. Right, what I've done is just really quickly put in the hundreds. When you do this, you'll have a little cross for each of these little lines you made down at the bottom. But I've just done it really quickly because otherwise this video will be way too long and you'll get bored. Once you've plotted all the crosses, all the points, you just need to join the line up. You can do it freehand, but it's just dot to dot. Okay, the graph also needs an axis along the bottom. Now, if we look at the map, if you go across the map, you're going across in distance, aren't you? So what we need to do is put kilometres. Now, you should all know this from last year, and we've done it a bit this year. Each of these blue squares on an OS map is worth 1 kilometre. So if I measure that, so one of these squares is 2 centimetres. So that means 2 centimetres is a kilometre. So all I need to do on my map is put my ruler along that bottom axis and just mark on every 2 centimeters. If you want at this point, you can rub out those little lines you've done. You don't have to, but you can rub out those little lines we put on earlier because they no longer matter because we've plotted them on the graph. And then down here we just need to label, so that's 0, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, and this is distance in kilometers. And a graph needs a title, so this is the cross section of part of the Fox Glacier, which is a glacier in New Zealand. So that's your cross section drawn, and it shows you how, as you go up the glacier, how the height of the glacier changes, and also you can see how the steepness of the glacier changes. So in the question it actually asks you describe how the glacier changes along its course. So you can see nearer the bottom of the glacier, so near where the glacier ends, so lower down, because remember glaciers are moving from the top of a mountain to the bottom of the mountain. So its snout, which is the end, kind of like the mouth of the river, the glacier is steeper. And then up towards where the glacier started, although remember we're only looking at part of the glacier here, so the snout of this glacier is down here, and this glacier, you can see it carries on further up, but towards the top of the glacier the gradient is a lot more gentle, so it starts to flatten out. Okay, and you should have been able to tell that from the map in the first place, because if you have a look at the contours near A, so near the snout, are really close together, which means it's steep, and up by B it is a bit more gentle. Though if you have a look, if we had drawn our graph further past B, the glacier actually steepens again because the contour lines are all close together. But for the task the textbook asks you to do, towards A, so towards the snout, it's steeper, and then towards the top it's more gentle. There's another question on there as well in the stretch and challenge section that says, where do you think crevasses will form along the glacier? Crevasses are those big cracks in the ice. I'm not going to tell you the answer, but have a think about where. Is it going to be on the steeper section or the gentle section that you're going to get those crevasses, those big cracks in the ice?